Hello and welcome to HIMSS TV. I'm Andrea Fox, Senior Editor at Healthcare IT News, a HIMSS media publication. Today on HIMSS TV, I'm joined by Dr. Vibhor Gupta, Director and Founder of Pangea Data, which has developed a novel AI-driven platform to find more untreated patients who comprise more than 90% of the patient population across hard-to-diagnose conditions. Previously, Vibhor led business development and strategy, deploying large-scale enterprise products for global organizations. He also spent 7 years building San Jose-based Quantum Secure, which was acquired by the HID Group. He's here today to talk about how Pangea Data's platform has helped the UK's National Health Service discover more untreated advanced cancer patients with cachexia, which refers to muscle wasting, reduce treatment costs, and improve resource optimization. Thank you, Vibhor, for joining us today. It's great to have you here.
Thank you, Andrea. It's a pleasure to be here. So thank you for having me.
Can you tell us what kinds of clinical objectives the AI can help address?
AI, of course, as the name suggests, is artificial intelligence. And by that very definition, the idea is, could it computationally, could we automate or do certain things that we do today as humans? Now, in healthcare, that of course includes several aspects, right, from administration in hospitals to treating patients and offering diagnoses, or even ensuring that patients are adhering to their medications, with the overall purpose being to improve patient outcomes and improve lives. We within Pangea Data are, of course, addressing one aspect of this sort of entire value chain, which is, as you described, to help find more of these untreated patients, meaning those undiagnosed, misdiagnosed, at-risk, uncontrolled, and even miscoded patients that we see in medicine comprise more than 90% or up to 90% of the patient population, especially in the context of hard-to-diagnose conditions. And by being able to find or treat these untreated patients, what we're really trying to get to is the application of AI to automate the manual review of patient records that clinicians have to do today in the clinic, so that these patients can be brought into care without the clinicians having to spend 30 to 40 minutes of their valuable time, which is what it would normally take them if they were doing this manually, to achieve the same. And you can imagine doing it manually is also not scalable, given sort of that each patient record is typically on average about 1,000 pages, and you have millions of patients. This is exactly where AI is really helping scale this and be able to achieve improved patient outcomes by bringing these patients into care.
Excellent. How does the technology suss out undiagnosed, misdiagnosed, and miscoded NHS patients?
So as I just described, the idea of the technology is really to automate a process that we're already conducting manually in the clinic. Now, that process is, of course, reviewing of patient records. But the question is, how does a clinician, when they manually review a patient record, find such untreated patients? Should they have to do it manually? And of course, that is based on established clinical guidelines and workflows. So as a clinician, you have a very clear guideline across most conditions, like the GOLD guidelines for COPD or the KDIGO guidelines for CKD, where on the basis of which, when you read a patient records, you would say, oh, this patient is suitable for screening, or this patient is at high risk of exacerbation in the context of COPD. So the idea is, how can you configure a computational program using mathematics, hence AI, to mimic that same process based on those clinical guidelines? And that therein sort of lies the mathematical challenge, which I'm very proud to say that we've been able to crack. And by doing so, we are able to now process millions of patient records, which otherwise, a clinician would have to review manually, through this product platform, to help find these undiagnosed, misdiagnosed patients. And the key is, because it's all happening based on these established clinical guidelines, the product platform is not classified software as a medical device based on the recent FDA guidance. And of course, that helps clinicians, because then you're not getting into regulation. And equally, you're not getting into the aspect of, hey, We just build an AI model with some new pattern recognition, which nobody can explain.
Understood. How widespread is use of the platform across NHS, and what were some of the hurdles the nationwide health system had to clear in order to bring the technology to scale?
So this particular study, which you are referring to, is currently being led by NHS Lothian, which is the Scottish part of the National Health Service in the UK. This is being run by a group of physicians based in Edinburgh. And of course, the idea is, from a population health standpoint, to process millions of patient records to find these untreated cancer patients or cancer patients who've been untreated for cachexia and bring them into care. And this is really improving their palliative care, essentially. But also, prospectively, at the point of care, being able to find these patients and put them on the right sort of guideline-based treatment without having to do this 6 months later. So that's really the purpose of the study. So it's both retrospective and prospective analysis of records from population health or a precision medicine standpoint. The challenges, of course, as you can appreciate, relate to a few aspects. Number one is you want to get it deployed behind the firewall of the health system because patient data is sacrosanct. And neither we within Pangea or anybody else outside the health system should be able to touch or move it. So of course, we had to ensure that the product platform was designed and architected in a way so that it could just be deployed behind the firewall without any data being needed to be touched or moved. Number one. Number two, the idea is for greater adoption. So of course, we have a group of physicians who are already running the study, but how do you get a larger group of physicians in the health system to use the product on a daily basis? And that's where we follow a train the trainer model, where through our clinical champions, we're imparting training and also making this training available through the software product platform. So the adoption is not limited to just a motivated group of physicians. And then the third aspect is how do you do this in a financially sustainable manner? And therein, because of course, we all know health systems are strapped for budget. And this is where we have found a new business model whereby two pharmaceutical companies, one from the US and one from Japan, who already had a drug on the market to treat such patients, are sponsoring the study because their motivation is to ensure that more and more patients are being brought into care. They don't care, they don't want the patient data, they don't want to touch it, or they don't even want the technology. What they do want is these patients to benefit from the care and of course their therapies that are already there on the market. So this sort of three-way approach of ensuring compliance and privacy combined with technology adoption, which offers zero disruption to whatever the clinicians and the IT teams in these health systems are doing today, and a sustainable business model is really what's helping us overcome all these challenges I described.
Thanks for explaining that trifecta to me. Appreciate it. And thank you for being here today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Andrea, for this opportunity. It was lovely talking to you.
Please join us again. We'd love to hear some more numbers as time goes on.
Absolutely.